City of Dreams is here. Alan, tell us about City of Dreams.
City of Dreams. You want to do it? I just saw it last night, and I'm still. Are you able to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. One. Yeah. You would be helping me out if you did that.
Let's do it. City of Dreams is about a young boy, Jesus. He's probably around 11, 12 years old. Jesus is played by Ari Lopez. Jesus has dreams of being a soccer star in Mexico. The film opens with his dream of winning a big soccer game in front of a stadium of people. Jesus, in pursuing his dream, is going to soccer camp, and he is escorted across the border by someone who may not have his best interest in mind. He's then taken to a house where he is forced into slave labor to make clothing. And he's surrounded by some, I would say, unscrupulous individuals, including Carlitos, played by Diego Calva. He has a run-in with the police officer, Officer Stevens, played by Jason Patrick, who's a little concerned that this kid the person he's with doesn't have his best interests in mind. He works at this place with a bunch of young people who make clothing for almost nothing, and they're forced to do this labor. This movie, you could say, is sort of a sister film to Sound of Freedom. It's the same, themes and ideas. It is utterly brutal. It is Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom was about the investigation to save a group of kids being sold into
child slavery.
Okay. This is from the kids' point of view, and it does not hold back.
Sound of Freedom, I'll just say Sound of Freedom was pulling its punches compared to this film.
And this also pulls its punches, but because of the point of view, it's from the point of view of the kid. It's horrifying. He is, you see him beaten. You see other characters beaten. You see women, young girls, forced to do unspeakable things. Now I will say it does hold back in terms of it doesn't show.
It's not graphic.
It's not graphic, but seeing a young 11-year-old Jesus, abused in this way, it's a hard film to watch. It's really hard to watch. I did go to the premiere at the Egyptian Theater for members. There is a Q&A. There's some video. I was there. I saw it with Paulie from Latino Slant. Both of us, after the film came out, and were like, we both needed a moment. It's directed by Mohit Ramchandani, and he really did not. He didn't. It's maybe minor spoilers. I'm not going to tell anything about the story, but the movie does end with a montage that's a call to action, similar to Sound of Freedom. It was revealed during the intro to the film, because Mohit tells a story about his mother, that after his mother passed away, he kept texting her for inspiration. It's a very beautiful story. And he's a Democrat. He's left-leaning. And some would say maybe the people who were involved with Sound of Freedom, I don't know for sure, maybe right-leaning. This is not a right or left issue. No. And there's a montage at the end of the film, which was very smart. It showed people on both sides of the political aisle speaking on this issue. It showed Kamala, Obama. It showed Trump and other people on Republican side. And I will say this, I spoke to the editor of this film, who may or may not be a fan of Film Threat. Okay. The editor confessed to me that they tried to find footage of Biden. He doesn't ever speak on this issue, ever. And they wanted the final montage, the call to action at the end of the film. It's not a spoiler for the story, but there's a stay at the end for this montage or this call to action. Um, they couldn't find footage of Biden speaking on this issue at all. Make of that what you will. But there was Trump, there was Kamala. So what I'm saying is, even the director, with being left leaning and a Democrat, we had a whole conversation. This is not a left right issue. This is happening today in America, with slaves being forced into labor and doing unspeakable things and abused. This is an issue for our time. And look, we can talk about the past all we want. More people are in slavery today than at any time in history. The movie opens with stats and the montage at the end. But the story of Jesus, this young boy who did an amazing job, by the way, in this film. There's a chase scene in the middle of the movie that is incredible. This chase scene through a sweatshop, through the streets of downtown LA in the garment district. I've been in the garment district. It's like that. It's incredible. Sam Levine is also in the movie. Sammy Levine, shout out to him. He's a huge movie nerd, by the way. Sammy Levine knows cinema. He's also a big nerd, DC Comics. And I run into him occasionally at screenings. He is an actor in the film. He plays a loathsome person, by the way. He plays a terrible person in the film, someone running one of these shops. It's hard to say I love this film. I mean, I would give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for the film. This is a hard film to watch. I don't know I can ever see it again. Anything with kids being abused. So I encourage you to see it for the message. But what a rough movie on an important topic. And again, Sound of Freedom was not treated fairly by mainstream press because of what they perceive to be. It's a movie that comes from the right, so you immediately don't like it. This movie, solidly from people on the left, says the exact same thing. A different way, but it says it's the exact same message. Watch this movie get embraced by the mainstream. Watch it get more press, because, and even at the Q&A, which is for members only, I captured most of it, and it was on. Tony Robbins was there doing the Q&A. Vivek Ramaswamy actually helped with the film. And the guy even said, the director said, Mohit, it was like, I wasn't sure, Vivek. It's like, but he was like, he was very much like a uniter, the director, in terms of like, everyone needs to get behind this issue to help us solve it. And it was a really important message. So I'll say movie rough to watch. Very good film from the POV of a child. Like, this film is brutal, and I guarantee it was pulling punches. As brutal as this movie is, it was pulling punches. Alan, what did you think of City of Dreams? And by the way, quick one last aside. This movie specifically goes after the city of LA and California. California, this is happening probably more than any other state. It's horrifying. This thing at the end, the call to action, is a montage of news reports about this. It's not taken seriously. It needs to be addressed. Alan, what are your thoughts on City of Dreams?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll start by saying you should see this movie because of the subject matter. I've been reviewing for Film Threat. I've come across many documentaries about child slavery, and it is very real. And you're right, in terms of California, it is a big deal. And weirdly enough, there are 2 documentaries about slavery going on in Africa right now. It's a problem, And it's a problem that this movie, the reason this movie exists is to bring the problem to the forefront again. We need to constantly be bringing this to the forefront. And it is brutal. It is a tough watch. And so see it. You need to see this movie. Let's talk about the film though itself as a film. It's very interesting the way this movie was shot, because his dream is to become a soccer player, and I think a lot of this movie felt like it was a dream. The way it was shot, the colors, you can see the color tone in the poster here. This is, when Jesus is in the sweatshop, he's locked in. He's, it's a darkened room. He barely sees sunlight. Also, the director uses wide angle lenses a lot, which kind of leads into that that dreamlike aspect. And there are dreams in this as well. Some not just dreams about becoming a soccer player, but nightmares too. And it's sort of alluded to, but the nature of his birth. And then also kind of the evil that goes on in these sweatshops. And I find it interesting because, I wrestled with it in the sense of, I was wondering if a more traditional filmed, in a more traditional way that this film could have been done, or whether this kind of dreamlike element to it is more compelling. And the more I think about it, I think I like the way it was done. And I think the fear is if you make it too much like a dream, it pulls you away from the true brutality that is going on. And maybe that was the point. Maybe he didn't want to get you too close to the situation to the point that it would turn you off. And so by creating kind of a distance with this dream aspect, allows you to watch what's happening, but still stay with the movie. I don't know. Did they talk about that at all in the Q&A?
Yeah, well, it's on you're a member of the Film Threat channel. You can watch it. But it talks about this is happening in LA now.
Yep.
Like LA now, as we speak, this is all happening. I like what you said. You pointed out the movie is very beautiful looking for such an awful topic. Like you get the sense of being claustrophobic, like with the no sunlight. They're in a house with no sun. All the windows are blocked up, so you can't even see outside. It's so dark. They work in near darkness, and it's a beautiful film about an ugly topic.
Yeah, there's one other element that I thought was interesting, but there's a cop involved who's investigating, and the politics he has to go through.
Like his hands are tied as a police officer to even investigate something.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they included that storyline of the cop, because
and then his woke partner was even more.
Yeah, he has. Yes, actually, his partner is super woke, and it's just like, oh no, and he just So
it's handled really well. I was almost annoyed with this character, and then it came through.
Yeah,
character came through at the end of the movie.
And I will say, it's like I'm surprised. I wouldn't have known if I didn't go to the premiere that the film was made by a left-leaning filmmaker. It doesn't feel that way, but it's also, this movie is common sense. So I please support this movie.
Yeah.
And if it's showing in your area, it's very indie. And I hope this somehow at least brings awareness where our elected officials will do something about this. So
yeah.
It's
sorry to be pessimistic, but yeah.
Yes, I know. I mean, how many movies have to get made before this, where something will actually be done?
Yeah,
I mean, let me say this. If you look, there are a lot of topics that films have. I mean, I can't tell you how many documentaries I saw about the legalization of pot. Okay. Now it's there for good or bad, right? We saw a lot of documentaries about gay rights. Okay. I think gay rights were pretty there with that. So I do think movies can have an influence. What's this, Alan?
Yeah. So this is a movie I reviewed, California's Forgotten Children. This is about sex slavery in California. It's very comprehensive, and it came out in 2018. Just to show you what that's how long ago. That's 6 years ago. The problem is still there, and the filmmakers were really appreciative of our coverage of their film. They were able to kind of tour the state with it, but you just feel a sense of hopelessness sometimes that nothing is changing, and that's why these movies are important. We've got to let people know it's out there and do something about it.
What would you give if you had to do a number scale on this? I said between 7 and 8 out of 10. That's
7, yeah. I'd give it an 8, definitely.
okay.
I mean, it's an emphatic yes. You need to see this, and I hope it doesn't. I hope if left leaning, if Democrats were making this, I hope it gets better coverage than Sound of Freedom. But knowing Hollywood and knowing the system, it's going to get zero coverage.